What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out one of the biggest and most impressive bikes that I got to try and see up until now. So the one that we have here today, it's called the Cyrusher XF900. This is basically the top of the line bicycle from this company. This bicycle has 26-inch wheels on the front and on the back. We also have 4-inch wide tires, and that gives it a bit of that massive look that we have. The bike is also powered by a 750-watt motor that's in the rear wheel there. We have hydraulic brakes on the front and on the back, and the bike gets a range of up to 100 kilometers on one charge. But we'll talk more about that later on in the video. First, let's start a bit of an unboxing, just so I can show you what kind of box this bike comes in and how it comes wrapped in the box. As you'd expect, the bicycle comes in a pretty massive box, but of course the bicycle itself is pretty massive and also pretty heavy. So the bicycle weighs 34 kilos, therefore the box will be pretty heavy as well. Inside the box, of course, you're going to find the bicycle. The bicycle is very well packed in the box, so it will not get damaged during transportation, but you do have to do a bit of an installation. So you basically have to put that front wheel together, the pedals and a couple of other things. So it should be ready and out on the road in about half an hour. Alright, so the XF900 is available in Europe and in the US. But depending where you are buying it, this will be a bit different. This is the European version that I have here, and this one doesn't have a throttle, so you cannot go on electricity only. You always have to pedal. In the US you do get a throttle, so you don't necessarily have to pedal if you don't want to. So here it has to be like that due to regulations. The top speed for this one, so the European version, is also 25 kilometers an hour. I haven't really looked into the possibility of unlocking it, but I know that the US version does go a bit faster than that. So keep that in mind. This may be a bit different depending if you're buying it in the US or in Europe. Alright, taking a look at the bicycle and starting at the front. Well, the front does look a bit different than all the other models, and I guess that makes this bike look a bit more unique. So the front suspension here looks more like an off-road suspension. The manufacturer calls this a motorcycle suspension. So you get about 4.5 inches of travel, and you can also adjust how soft or how hard the suspension is. Now, even though it does look very off-roady, I'm gonna say, I wouldn't actually take this bike off-road. I mean, yes, that suspension definitely helps, but it's not like a professional grade suspension. That's what I'm trying to say. So it will be fine to jump a couple of curbs here and there. It will be fine if you're going over uneven terrain, but I wouldn't necessarily take this bicycle off-road. There is also a plastic fender on the front here. It doesn't seem to move. You do have to put this on when you take the bike out of the box. You also have the light right here. The light is super bright. You can easily see it during the day, and at night it will light up the path ahead of you, no problem. And of course on the front here we also have a disc brake. As I mentioned earlier, this bicycle has hydraulic brakes. Moving to the back of the bicycle, here we have the same disc brake that we have on the front. So again, hydraulic brakes on the back as well. We also have this plastic mudguard. The mudguard doesn't seem to move whenever you're riding. And then we have this metal rack here, so you can carry certain things on the bike there. And then we have the rear tail lights. So this one that we have here is powered from the bike's battery. But then underneath the seat here we have another light. So we have two lights here, but the one underneath the seat actually takes a battery, so you will have to change that battery every so often. The light on the back here also lights up more whenever you are braking, so that acts as a brake light as well. On the back here we also have a 7-speed Shimano shifter, but I did have to adjust this a bit because when I was shifting between the third and the fourth gears, it wasn't shifting properly. This may not be the case with all bikes, but for mine that was the case. So I did have to do a bit of an adjustment, even though I still have to work on it for a bit. The bike is also using a speed sensor, so it doesn't have a torque sensor. That means that it will sense the speed that it has, and then it will give you power. So So you basically have to start pedaling first, and then the bicycle will sense that you're pedaling, and then it will give you power. And that speed sensor is located here where we have the pedals. Talking about the pedals, we have metallic pedals. They do feel great, much better than other plastic pedals that I got to try in the past. And in the center here we have frame suspension, frame shock. Now, I don't find this that useful in most situations. So it does work a bit when you're jumping over curves, if you're going over uneven terrain, but in most situations you don't really feel that this is helping you in any way. Now, since we have those massive 4-inch wide tires, so these are called fat tires, I guess these help the most whenever you're going over uneven terrain. So most of the time, yes, it is a very comfortable ride, not to mention that the seat has a lot of padding on it. So one of the coolest seats that I got to sit on. So yes, you can ride for extended periods of time and you're not gonna get tired. The battery pack is located on the frame here. You can also remove it. So we do get a couple of keys. Now, the keys don't act as ignition keys. The keys only lock the battery in place. So if you unlock this, you can remove it, and basically you can charge it at home. You don't necessarily have to charge it whenever you have it in the bike. We have the charging port on this side here. We also have a power button there. And on the other side, we have a USB-A port. So if you want to charge your phone from this, you definitely can do that. Now, charging this takes about 7 to 8 hours. You basically charge it overnight. As for the range, well, the manufacturer says that you can get about 60 miles on one charge. Well, it depends how you're gonna use the bicycle, because if you're using it at the maximum assistance level, which is 5, of course, you're not gonna get anywhere close to that. You're gonna get about 25, 35 miles on one charge. And we're talking about miles now, even though we're in Europe and we use kilometers here. But you get the idea. I'm gonna have it on the screen what that means in kilometers. So it depends how you're gonna ride this. Basically, if you ride uphill most of the time, you're not gonna get anywhere close to that. But if you ride on flat surfaces and you do a lot of pedaling, you can get close to what the manufacturer suggests. All right, putting the battery back is also pretty simple. You just slide it in here and then you push down on it and then you can lock it, and that's it. It's locked in place. And moving to the handlebar. Now, I kind of wish we could lift up the handlebar a bit. I would have liked to see a more straight position on the bike. Like this, you do have to lean forward a bit, and that could become tiring after a while. The handlebar is nice and wide. I'm not a big fan of these grips. They seem a bit on the cheaper side, I'm gonna say. However, I did notice that the US version does get better grips, at least from the pictures that I've seen online. On the left-hand side here, we have the button for the headlight and the tail light. We also have the horn. Let me show you how this sounds. So I'm just gonna power this on. So very loud. The horn is actually in the light enclosure here. In the center here, we have a screen. The screen displays how much battery you have, the current speed, how much power you're using, the odometer, and the mode that you're in. I also love the fact that you can see the screen in direct sunlight. It is super bright out today and I can clearly see the screen. With a lot of bikes, you can't really see the screen if it's super bright out, but with this one, no problems whatsoever. On the right hand side here, we have the shifter, and then of course we have the brake levers. Now, the brakes on this bike are decent, but considering that we have hydraulic brakes, I was actually expecting that the braking power would be better. I find that when you're going really fast and you're braking, there is a bit of shakiness, so not the best braking power that I ever experienced. So I did try other bicycles in the past that had hydraulic brakes that had better brakes in a way. With this one, when you're braking from higher speeds, there is a bit of shakiness that I'm not a fan of. And I almost forgot to mention the kickstand. So the kickstand is on the left-hand side here. It's made out of a combination of metal and plastic, and whenever you have the bicycle sitting on the kickstand, it doesn't seem to move or fall over. Next, we are talking about power. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we have a 750 watt motor that's in the rear wheel here. I haven't really found any situation where the bike doesn't have enough power. So it doesn't matter if you're going uphill or if you're going on a flat road, the bike has a lot of power. So you're always gonna get to that maximum top speed. As I mentioned earlier, the European version is limited to 25 kilometers an hour. In the US, that speed is a bit higher. But here you can basically reach that 25 kilometers an hour in pretty much all situations. Alright, so next I'm gonna take you on a short bike ride. Well, maybe not that short. I'm basically gonna show you how this bike works, how the mods here work, how climbing uphill works. So we'll go for a little ride so you can get a better understanding how the bicycle works when you're riding it basically. So let me grab that camera and we'll go for a ride. Alright, so let me quickly show you how this works. To turn this on, you basically hold the M button pressed for like 3 seconds or so, and then the bike turns on. From here, you can change the modes. So now we are in mode number 1. I'm not sure if you can actually see that on the camera, so we're gonna put it on mode number 3. So the top speed for this bicycle, locked as it comes out from the box, basically it's 25 kilometers an hour. I believe that in mode 3 it's about 18 kilometers an hour or something like that. So now you're all set, you can start pedaling, and as soon as you start pedaling, the bike will assist you. So let's do that. You can probably hear the motor kicking in. So you don't really have to put that much power into pedaling, just at first when you first start moving. Afterwards, you basically just do the motion of pedaling. So 20 kilometers an hour in mode number 3. I'm also going to show you a quick braking test. So it does stop fairly quick. So as soon as you start pedaling, the bike will start assisting you. The other thing I want to show you is the walking mode. So if you hold this button pressed, so the button down press for around 3, 4, 5 seconds, the bike goes into walking mode. So basically you'd use that mode if you're walking next up to the bike and you don't want to push it, but you can also ride it. The top speed for that walking mode is about 9 kilometers an hour. So let me show you how that works. So the bike will start going by itself. Basically you don't have to pedal for this mode or anything, but this is the top speed for this mode. So unless you're just riding next to someone that's walking, this is probably not going to be ideal because it is fairly slow. To stop this, you basically touch the brakes, and then it stops, and to enter it again, you hold this button pressed. So let's switch to mode number 5 and we'll start pedaling, just so I can show you the top speed, which is 25 kilometers an hour. So when you reach 25 kilometers an hour, the motor cuts off, so no more power. You do have to pedal more basically if you want to go faster than that. So let me show you a braking test from the top speed of 25 kilometers an hour. So it does stop pretty quick. So yeah, this is how riding this bicycle works. Alright, so next we are starting our climbing test. I'm in the first gear and in mode 0 at the moment. We are gonna start pedaling, but we're gonna switch up the modes to mode number 5. So this hill here is pretty steep. You can already hear the motor going, and I don't really have to put any effort into pedaling. With most other bicycles, it is pretty difficult climbing up this hill. Here you can also see the power consumption as I pedal up the hill. And this is one of the steepest hills that we have here. So I'm still doing 15, 18 kilometers an hour, and I can probably keep going. So no problems whatsoever climbing any type of hill with this bicycle. Alright, so as you've seen for yourself, a pretty decent ride, mostly if you are riding over flat surface. So if you're riding on the road, a pretty comfortable ride, it doesn't make any noise. But as soon as you go off-road with it, it does rattle here and there. So I wouldn't necessarily call this bicycle an off-road bicycle. Yes, it does look a lot like an off-road bicycle. When you see the front suspension here, you're like, wow, I can jump any rocks, I can climb any mountain. I wouldn't actually take this bike off-roading. It just looks like it's an off-road bike, but it's not really an off-road bike, if that makes any sense. Plenty of power. It is fairly expensive for what it is, in my opinion. But if you want a bike that everyone looks at whenever you're riding, well, this is definitely gonna be the bike for you. In my case, the bike doesn't fit in the elevator because it's just so big. So I have to take it up the stairs every single time. And it weighs 34 kilos, so it is a heavy bike. So be careful that you're gonna have to store this somewhere because it is a pretty massive bike. So there you have it. This is the XF900. In my opinion, this is a bike that looks better than what it is. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.